Yo, the boys. Hey, Ben. Hey, Sam. Welcome back. Good to see you guys again. And welcome back. This is episode number 3 of Stack the Box. Woo! Number 3. Looking, going strong as far as I know. I think we doubled our views from 5 to 10 between 1 and 2. So, yeah, looking for 15 this time. um, yeah, so last 2.5 weeks, Freeman's been living the dream down there in Hamilton with no real level 3 lockdown. Don't know what it's like. I can't remember. I think we did the last one right when we started that A, so it was just the start of it, wasn't it?
Yep.
But yeah, so we're in 2.5. How do you feel about that, Freeman? What do you think about our half level?
We'll see. In the news tonight, you've just got recommendations for all the Aucklanders leaving to take your warnings with you. Leave your masks on, mate, and if you're traveling around Queenstown, just don't get too close. Yeah, and avoid Hamilton like you normally do. So yeah.
That's right. That bypass can't come any faster, can it? So Shiraz, AFA President Shiraz Soisa, who's been busy working behind the scenes, had another meeting last Sunday with the people in the know and all the members of all the clubs and all the people who make those big decisions these days. I think Jacinta might have even zoomed in on a little bit of it just to kind of make sure that she's keeping up with what the AFA wants to be doing these days. And, so yeah, he sent out a plan that he's posted out to everybody, I believe, which is full of uncertainty. I shouldn't say full of uncertainty. That's not fair. It's got two different directions we can go in, which, hey, in these days, man, an option of 2 isn't a bad way to go. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I'm sure in Shiraz's head, he's got about 15 different scenarios playing out at the moment. But yeah. So the 6th of September, we officially find out a little bit more from the government as to the way these can go. So scenario 1, actually, in Shiraz's paperwork, he's got scenario A, which I would think would be the preferred option as we remain at level 2, which I don't think is the preferred option. I don't know if he's kind of placed these in what he thinks is most likely to happen. But let's start with scenario B. Auckland and Hamilton both dropped to level 1. We're back to firing into the season as he proposed it, which is a massive change from what we've seen in the past already. I don't know. What do you think, Sam, in terms of the change from the season, like the structure and everything, and going into, man, we've just come out of this. We don't know. How likely do you reckon we are to go with scenario B? Everybody's in level 1. We're going with that proposal that Shiraz put together when he became the president.
Yeah, I'm not sure about how each club is equipped to deal with these moving blocks. But nonetheless, there's been a bit of time since the new changes were voted in by a majority. So there's a little bit of a heads up, so to speak, that it wouldn't be a business as usual in the sense of the format of how we would be participating in the game. Ordinarily now clubs have started already or just about to start, and the season would kick off early November. But that's been brought forward and then it's been dissected up. So in terms of how initially the clubs would have taken on that news and then be ready to get into different sort of groups, so to speak, and get ready for the different elements of the season. I think it might vary. Some of the more proactive clubs would have dispersed themselves into little subgroups, get themselves ready for flag. Others might have earmarked some of their big young guys for some of the big man football club stuff. And saying that, I think obviously the curveball in the last 2.5 weeks has been an additional lockdown with some uncertainty, like you said, how long restrictions may lay in place. So even despite some of the most proactive teams in sort of getting some little subgroups going and preparing for these exciting new little sort of comps or versions of the game, sort of not really sure if it will run as sort of earlier discussed and then agreed upon as shown by Shiraz and then agreed to by the rest of the clubs. So lots of uncertainty.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point that you made at the beginning of the fact that everybody did agree to this at one stage. So we wouldn't be where we are right now if everybody hadn't agreed. So hopefully those clubs are kind of picking up some of that and running with what they know, I guess. So Freeman, down in Hamilton, you reckon you guys have started training a little bit? Tell us a little bit about what happened on the weekend with your freedom of more than 10 people getting together.
Yeah, as mentioned before we came on here, we had our first muster on Sunday. I was initially worried, what happens if we get more than 100? They were, we fell well short of that. With a good, kind of a 30, 40 people there. 20 of them were just old, broken ex-players, but it was good to have a catch up with everyone again, and especially and talk to some newbies and returning players, I guess, about what the decision, if it were to go, what the season, if it were to go ahead, will be looking like. Kind of got a couple of newbies signed up and run some routes on air and all that kind of thing. With another one lined up for this Sunday, and at this stage, we're preparing optimistically as if the season is to go ahead as normal, but definitely did have a couple of disclaimers to everyone, and everyone's in the same boat and feeling good about it all, and fingers crossed, really. Yeah.
And so I guess so if we stay at level 2, so as opposed, like looking at Shiraz's thing, so the 6th of September, Jacinda comes out and tells us we're staying at level 2. There's going to be another meeting on the 20th of September. So 2 weeks later, the AFA is going to meet to catch up, and they're going to go with 2 different options. So option 1 is delay the start of the season until everybody's in level 1, and then give everybody 6 to 8 weeks of training to prepare. And there's going to be weekly AFA updates to meetings to make decisions and figure out. And Shiraz acknowledges the complexity of that, because it's going to be people trying to figure things out on the go. And I guess one of the hard things about that is, what do you train for? If there's 6 to 8 weeks of training activities, how much? Perhaps the AFA leads some of that. I don't know. But what are the teams training for if they're finding out each week what the competition is? So do you train for flag, or do you train for contact? Do you train for 8-man? Do you train for 11-man? I don't know. Where would your priorities lie, Freeman? If that was the situation, AFA's meeting weekly, and they just say, okay, you got 6 to 8 weeks to prepare. Where are you focusing your training then?
I think the main thing is, if you're going to jump into a season, no matter what level of players you've got, you have to start with fundamentals of football in general. You're going to have, maybe you got 3/4 of your player pool is returning and they have played before, and then you get another quarter that haven't. It's the first time donning pads, or even hearing the words gridiron or first down, or there's 4 downs to get how long's a yard kind of thing. It's that, no matter kind of what it is. Football is football in all formats of it. There's obviously crossover between flag and 8 and 11. My stack of napkins, which I call a playbook at this stage, is trying to be as flexible as possible. So if it were to run normally, it can still be used in the 11-a-side comp in the new year. So I think just it's got to be fundamentals and just be very flexible. But like you stated, and what Shiraz has pointed out, that option 1, delaying the start and then just being like, all right, bang, here we go, and then kind of running weekly meetings, that's a big ask. Depending on how many, forever, there's a whole lot more admin involved to make decisions on the fly. Okay, you've got a week or 2 to turn around to draw. Can you confirm from all the clubs, are you entering a junior team? Are you entering a senior team? It's going to be pretty difficult for sure, that option 1.
What advice would you give some clubs, Sam? If you were speaking to some of those clubs out there, what kind of things would you be suggesting that they do to get ready for this?
Yeah, I think any format of the game is going to have a quarterback, some receivers or options that the ball is going to be given to or thrown to. It's going to be a couple of blockers, and that's going to make up offense of some sort. And then on defense, there's going to be a couple of guys trying to get to the quarterback, and then others that are trying to man up or sort of cover those different options on offense. I think, clubs have to be agile in terms of preparing for sort of the multiple formats. But I do agree with elements of what Freeman's saying. Running it on a week-to-week basis is going to be challenging. And so I think at some point, if it is some bad news, sooner rather than later is better. Even our major codes across the country, Club Rugby in Auckland, Club Rugby League, have had major disruptions. So it's not just us. All sports are affected. And I think, we just have to consider the risk to sort of playing or dragging things on. And it's not ideal, obviously. And I think in a perfect world would be playing as much football as we can in a variety of different forms, because judging by the club membership, there's an appetite for change, which we talked about earlier. There's an appetite for a variety of sorts of what the season looks like. But if that's not feasible, given some things that's a little bit bigger than football and public health, public safety, and mandated by the government, then I think we just need to call it sooner rather than later.
What do you reckon? I was chatting with Freeman before we started recording. Do you reckon we could get away with instead of mandatory eye shields, everybody has to take their visors and put them on the bottom half of their face mask so it covers their mouth, and then we could play contact with no worry about anybody being in the breathing zone? You reckon we could get away with that? And it doesn't matter if it's tinted or whatever color you want it to be.
I know from my playing years, I've had a couple of fingers up inside my face mask, and Bella Matia, I'm talking to you.
Oh, straight shooting.
Gambo, we won't be able to hear your trash talking then if it's covering your mouth.
You can see it in my eyes.
We won't hear you saying, let's take it to the car park or something.
Oh, no, you'll hear that because I'll be on the sideline with no helmet on, so don't worry about that. I'll make sure all the players stay at least 2 meters away from me so I can still yell and not have to wear a mask. I want everybody to hear me. You know that, Sam.
You're getting some lightning face mask merch at the moment, yeah.
That's right. I've been emailing the manager from the Tampa Bay ice hockey team. They're sending a bulk order over, just a bolt. So I guess on that note, the option 2, so that option 1, everything gets delayed, a little bit messy. Who knows what that's going to look like, but that's pretty much what society looks like when we live in today. Option 2, Shiraz is pushing for the flag football season running pre-Christmas. Flag football can be played at level 2, he suggests, and then contact goes after Christmas. So the contact season gets bumped to after Christmas, and that gives us a lot more certainty. What are your thoughts on that idea, Sam?
That'd probably be my preference. I'm not playing, I'm not preparing, I'm not coaching, but I'm sitting here. That seems tidier, and I think perhaps given whilst there's a little bit of just contact, there is perhaps less in terms of sharing of gear and stuff like that, and perhaps at a basic level just might give, because so jumping a bit, if when we start preparing for a football season, we do good fundamentals, but an additional layer to that is getting ready for contact, and if we are on a compressed timeline, then we take out one stage. We just sort of getting the fundamentals down and gameplay, as opposed to fundamentals, gameplay, and harding ourselves up, so to speak, getting that out, and then have a good Christmas, and then given whatever's happening in the world, prepare for some contact in the new year. Just look at things.
What do you reckon, Ben?
I know that I think we might have talked about it in that first episode. That's that time window, that window after Christmas was always quite difficult to get up for again. But if it's kind of set out, obviously this decision is going to be made on the 20th, so there's a lot of time to then prepare, and then it'll be put on the clubs to sort out. All right, here it is. We have a concrete start date. Well, as concrete as I guess it can be. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Knock wood, we don't jump into another one, but that would give some certainty on some season dates for sure. My only bugaboo is that I don't know, I've got some excess leave and I want to take, I was planning on going on a really holiday in February, I don't know, around the Cape or something, but look, we've all had to make sacrifices, haven't we? So, that'd just be what it is. I think the interesting thing about that, when Shiraz has mentioned that, to, I guess, stay in line with the high performance window that he had initially said, that the contact season would be 11-a-side for the seniors, and say here, and likely for the Colts as well, with the juniors to stay 8, which is all right. I mean, like I say, I've got a stack of napkin plays there for 8-a-side and all that kind of thing. And I mean, that would be right. And I guess the most, well, aside from scenario B, where it's normal, and on the 6th we're back to level 1, it would be. Yeah, it would be all right, really. And the only thing would be that time frame, really, that it is in the new year. Pretty hot and hard, some dusty fields, but like, if it means that we get some proper, nice, a good formatted season of some good quality football with some good lead-in times as well. Kind of all for that. So, be sweet.
Yeah, I mean, like you just mentioned, Ben. So it is interesting because it talks about if we do that option 2, where we stay where we remain in level 2, that the contact season comes after Christmas, and that the Colts and the seniors are both playing 11-a-side. And I'm kind of like, well, what's the difference? Whether I know they talked about a Colts having like an elite 11-a-side comp, but they talked about the Colts playing 8-a-side. So why would it all of a sudden turn to 11-a-side now? Whether they expect more people to come out during that time to create better teams, or I don't know. Why would you not just stick with the 8-a-side that we talked about the Colts were going to play from the get-go?
They did have that, 2 weeks ago, they had the meeting saying they were going to put the working group together to decide whether or not the Colts would play the 11-a-side in that high-performance window. I guess maybe the committee's hoping that with, if you've got, September, 3.5 months to prepare, that your Colts team should be ready to go for an 11-a-side.
So just straight into that high-performance window, I guess, yeah.
Yep.
All right, makes sense. So, and hopefully the juniors get a good comp. It'd be great to see some of the clubs bring multiple teams out for the juniors if they can rock those 8-a-sides. But, we'll see how that plays out, I guess. And, I mean, I'm fascinated, I guess, because flag, I get the transition of the learning of the skills from flag to that in terms of reading routes. Great for those skill players in terms of reading lineups and alignments and quarterbacks and receivers getting on the same page. But it's a totally different set of rules. Like when I watched the video of the New Zealand flag team playing in that tournament in Miami a few years ago, I mean, the whole 5-second count for a rush and like the linebacker standing 8 meters back before they can blitz and things like that. Like, it's a totally different kettle of fish. I don't know, how familiar are you guys with official flag football rules?
The biggest one that kept, aside from the fact they couldn't hit someone in the ribs when they jumped up for a high ball, that took quite a bit of self-restraint. But as soon as you caught the ball, all the other offensive players have to stop where they are. You can't block, which teaches quite bad habits. Had some flag players come along and was like, "What are you doing, boy? You got you got to block."
Yes, wow, I didn't know that. I had no idea about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so if you got another receiver over there catches the ball, everyone else has to stop, because it would be quite advantageous if you could block for sure and flag. But yep.
You'd think they'd allow for some kind of even like basketball style screening. Like, I can't come and physically move you off the ball, but I can stand in your path to allow my teammate to go around and you to be disrupted by it, kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of people thinking, oh, flag football, it's football just with flags instead of tackle, versus, I mean, I guess it's the same in touch and rugby, where in touch, if you pass the ball and someone drops it, it's a turnover. Whereas in rugby, you play on. That kind of similarity. But I don't know. How familiar are you with flag rules, Sam?
I just learned those rules now.
Yeah. Right? It's
my vision of flag would have just been perhaps closer to the real thing, but just no helmets and pads, so I'd be caught out.
Yep. Honestly, the amount of chances you have to, there's a whole lot of crossing routes and this, and there's just there's ribs that are just screaming to be hit, but no, we can't. Yeah.
Sam would get that pitch from the quarterback and grubber it right past the cornerback and pick it up on the third bounce. Make sure he didn't dive into the end zone because that's illegal too, right? Yeah. So yeah. I mean, man, I guess the bottom line is this year is presenting uncertainty to our season the way it is to everything in life. And hey, man, I mean, it's so beyond our control. There's no point in bitching and moaning about it or whinging about it too much. We just got to go with the flow and know that there's a lot of people doing a lot of hard work in the background. So I guess for those people who are tuning in and don't know a whole lot and don't realize, because I was chatting with a few people the other day and they were asking me how many people play gridiron, and I don't really know how to answer that because it seems to be fluctuating. We know the numbers were dropping from Shiraz's presentation that got him where he is now. But yeah, I mean, do you guys know how many clubs there are in our competition?
I said the latest AFA little banner there had their photo shoot a couple of weeks ago. It looks like there's 7 standing there. See, the Papakura Kings made the centre of the 7 there, the newest club kind of thing. And nice jerseys, but yeah, is there 7? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's 9.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah.
Not everybody came to the photo shoot, clearly, Ben.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Ben, as you mentioned, if we work our way from south to north, we've got the Hamilton Hawks, who are represented here, and the furthest south, and one that not everybody loves traveling to play, but that's all right. They'll learn more about that later. But if you live in Hamilton and you're catching on, then check it out. Facebook page. I'm sure Hamilton has a Facebook page that's easy to find. Search up Hamilton Hawks on Facebook. I'm sure you can't miss it.
We're not the Hamilton Hawks Running Club, which is unfortunate naming battle there, but yeah.
There's a Hamilton Hawks Running Club.
There is, man.
Do you get a lot of crossover? Do you get a lot of players playing both gridiron and athletics?
We just tell them to come along anyway. Oh, you're high jumper, long jump? Yeah, sweet, fast, cool. Jump in. Couple of shot putters, man. Yeah. Nice.
And then the club that you mentioned, I think, is the next one coming further north, the Papakura Kings, who are a fairly new club. They haven't been around for a long time, have they? Really?
No, I think I've only seen
5 years.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
I think maybe they've yet to produce a senior men's and I think a woman. So at this stage, maybe just juniors and college. Oh, actually, sorry, I am mistaken. They have had a couple of senior games before, but maybe not finished the season, eh?
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think I've seen a senior game out of them once or twice, but yeah. So a growing club, and certainly Papakura, man, a great place. Like, I'm sure there's a ton of athletes coming out of that town. So if you're living down Papakura way, check them out, Papakura Kings. You come a little bit further north in the Mangere area, you got the South Auckland Raiders. I think they train out Center Park in Mangere. They're well and true. They've been around for years. So hopefully people in that area keep coming a little further north. I don't know if my geography's spot on here, but I'm going with the Papatoi Wildcats next in terms of the next club that's north. Again, club that's been around for ages. And one of the stronger women's clubs, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I think they've won back-to-back, maybe. Oh, no, once, actually. Oh, I'm not sure, sorry. I'm speaking out of turn.
And without going on too much of a tangent, there's a massive funding thing coming out of Sport New Zealand right now. So they're really focusing on athletes between 5 and 12 and 14 and 18 or 13 and 18 and women 15 to 24. So, man, check out the Sport New Zealand site. I'll throw out a plug right there for that. If you're looking for funding applications from Sport New Zealand, they're talking about like $5 million they're trying to throw out in the next year to help more kids get active. And man, does our sport really offer great opportunity for kids, A, in low socioeconomic areas, and B, like, man, we've got 2 or 3 women's clubs that there's huge potential to grow that. 15 to 24 years, I think that's spot on our target market. You know what I mean? So check out Sport New Zealand, funding, grants. I don't know. I'll find out more about that later. Maybe we can get a plug in there, a link to it. Cool. What's that?
Who's your next team? I'm just checking your geography.
Yeah. So going up from Papatoi, then we got are they the Spartans? Are they the Manurewa Spartans?
Oh yeah, I was just double checking because you've gone off a couple of gone down the road and then come back to on the motorway. So just making sure for my Spartans friends, you weren't going on the motorway in another direction.
Nah, man, I wasn't gonna miss them. No way. I was just going down Puanui, past the bowl, past the Monaco Sports Club, back to Mountford. Yeah, so the Spartans, Mountford Park, home of most of our competition games. So they're based locally there. And then you head out east onto the kind of the Bucklands Beach Peninsula. Check out the Tamaki Lightning, based at Pakadonga Rugby Club. And then you come into the city center, where history is well and truly laid with the Metro Lions, who always represent with clubs, with teams in every single comp, it seems, and another women's team. And then you head out, then you jump on 16 and head out west, and you can find the Western Wolves going out that Northwestern. And if you keep going past Hobsonville Point and just head north instead of going back to 1 and getting on the road again, then you'll find the North Harbor Pride, who've kind of had their ups and downs with teams as well. But they haven't had a senior men's in a little while, but some good juniors and Colts going on out there. And man, again, what a massive catchment area, that whole North Harbor area that's literally catered to by the Western Wolves and the North Harbor Pride. Like, man, there's some real possibility if you're living up in those areas. Check out those teams and get amongst it this season.
Is there any, Gambo, I know last season the Lightning and the Pride combined their Colts teams, was it? To have a team. Is there any talk of doing that again this year, or are both clubs almost looking like, no, not aware? Yeah.
And that was more based on the fact that that somebody who coaches at North Harbor ended up playing for the Lightning.
Okay.
And so that's the only reason that relationship came about, just because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about people, right?
Yep.
And so there were two people that were on the same page, and they went, oh, yeah, we can't make this work. So you train your boys, we'll train our boys, and on Saturdays they'll all get together and suit up. So anything to get people playing, I guess.
Yeah. Sweet.
But, yeah. And then Freeman, there's talk of a NZAFF, the national body, running a flag tournament. What do you know about that?
Yep. There's been talk, I know, obviously, with the AFA flag tournament coming up, and talking about logistics of that internally within the Hamilton Hawks, trying to get a couple of the old heads back on, a couple of the guys who had played for the New Zealand Marcos team, back along to potentially coach it and things. But with all this uncertainty and Auckland going into coughing on each other and things, we've decided to not involve ourselves with that if there is going to be one anyway. But the NZAF have their nationals late October, which I believe is on the 24th, 25th weekend, is Labour weekend, up in Auckland. I'm pretty, I'm 95% that has been confirmed. Well, obviously pending national.
If it hasn't, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I think we'll be chucking on a team there and looking to get a bit of a flag day. I think it is planned to be run over 2 days. We had one down in Hamilton here last summer, which was over 2 days and was a kind of good get out there. We had a team come up from Hawke's Bay. The Raiders came down as well. There was another Auckland team, and I think we had two here from Hamilton. So it's a good day out. I know they've had one in Wellington as well between this time, so earlier this year, pre the big lock-in. But I guess keep your eyes peeled, everybody, and we'll probably have an update for you when we do our next podcast in a couple of weeks or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess worst case scenario is if we end up in level 2.5 or 3 again and we end up in lockdown, maybe we should look to just crank out some more podcasts about what gridiron's like in New Zealand, or could or should or would be or will be one day, and just keep informing people about the game. Maybe we can make it a more regular thing. But
my version of Madden 21 just arrived in the mail today, so there's going to be a whole of that going on.
Nice. And then Freeman's playbook this season is going to be like circle, circle, X.
Oh yes, lots of circles, spin move all day.
Nice. And I guess before we wrap up too much, scenario B, like if everybody drops down to level 1 on the 6th of September, we find out we're in level 1, and Sherez suggested this is like the best of the best case scenario, that the contact season would start on the 31st of October, which is the initially planned. So perfect. Halloween, break out your masks. Even though we're in level 1, you can still wear them. And then And that's only happening if we're level 1 by the 20th of September. So if we're level 1 by the 20th of September, we're going full on contact standard season as Therese suggested on the 31st of October.
Yep.
And there's no point in us trying to predict whether that's going to happen or not. Time will tell. We'll find out.
Yep.
I think we'd all agree we certainly don't want to roll into 2021 with a new AFA cluster, though. So
yeah, it wouldn't do well for our the public relations, would it? No.
That's not going to happen, is it, though, Sam?
Get some spotlight on the game.
That's right. Yeah. Everybody be like, "Whoa, they play American football in New Zealand?"
Yeah, true. Yeah. What are they?
Out of Jacinda's mouth or Dr. Ashley Bloomfield at the press conferences. If we get some repetition out of the AFA football competition, we get some brand recognition of some specific clubs, then
any publicity is good publicity, right?
That's right. Yeah, you speak to marketing experts, and even bad publicity is good publicity. We'd send them a hat so that they can come to the press conference with the AFA logo on it.
It's just how we spin it, and get people to watch our podcasts.
That's right. And if it got maintained really quickly and the numbers went down really fast, then we could use that to just highlight how low our numbers are and that we need more people playing, clearly.
Yeah. It'll be.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, so what do you guys reckon? Sammy, you want to give a little bit of a highlight about what's coming up in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, so on our next podcast, we will have, at this stage, presumably two of the Noah brothers who run NSC, without, I guess, going into a bio. But Matt Noah and Mark Noah have been doing a little bit of engagement through the Polynesian Football Hall of Fame. Who've done some specific activity around, linemen, the big boys in the trenches, and equipping them with the skills, because that's the engine room and where lots of action happens, and it can be fine-tuned a whole lot down to skill, not just this raw brunt sort of strength. And so they're both based in New Zealand, and so based in Auckland, and so we'll have them on the next podcast, and given, I guess, some of the timelines, and it all goes well, best case scenario, then sooner rather than later, we should have some engagement around sort of the big men's club, or big men sort of camps, and so it'll be good just to hear from them, their experiences, and maybe a little snippet of what we may expect for our current players, and even maybe new guys, new big guys that want to jump in and get an experience of it.
Yeah, and oddly, the big man comps is not on this one page that Shiraz sent out at all. So hope maybe they'll be able to shed some light. I don't know whether there's some more communication, but we'll find out more from them. Whether that's something that can or cannot happen in level 2, who knows? We'll find out more from them. But man, as far as I'm concerned, that's like gridiron royalty right there, man. Like international recognition. So I can't wait to have a corridor with those boys, hear their stories, and find out what they got in stores for all going well. So sweet. Anything else you guys want to add? Anything, Freeman, coming up for you?
I'm good, man. Nope. Like I say, we got our second muster this Sunday. So, and then, well, the plan is cracking into training on Tuesday. So, we'll see. Fingers crossed. Shameless
plugs for those people fortunate enough to have groups of 100. All you Auckland clubs, keep holding on. I'm sure there's people out there with 9 people running around on the field somewhere. So get in touch with your club. Find out who. Just find 8 of your mates, 9 of your mates that play a similar position to you. Wear a mask if you're an O lineman or a D lineman and you're planning on hitting each other. Anything else you want to add there, Sam?
I just think it's going to be an interesting time ahead. It's already been interesting for those planning behind the scenes, and I think for those already in the community, just to be supportive of whatever the those running the game and those at the heads of our clubs, whatever decisions and direction they take. These are just things that we have to jump on board. Given 2 months ago, people, I think this would have been this fairy tale season of all these awesome new initiatives coming through. which may still come to fruition. But if it doesn't, then I think, yeah, we just need to be mindful that those plans weren't made with COVID coming literally on a crackback or on a blind shot. And at the moment, just trying to figure out where the play's going, and
Get on a swivel.
Head on a swivel. So yeah, no, just looking forward to what might come out in next couple of weeks.
Awesome, sweet. Well, hey, episode 3 in the belt. I like it, man. And so thank you guys both for joining me once again. Stack the Box, episode 3. Keep an ear out. 2 weeks time. We look forward to joining you again with some newer boys on our screen joining us as well. All right, have a good night. Have a good night, everyone.
Ciao.